Hey everyone, welcome back. This is another in the 10-minute tip series of recorded programs for credit and collection pros. This is how to successfully address broken customer commitments. My name is Michael Dennis. Let's go ahead and jump in. Introduction. Unfortunately, some customers make and then break their payment commitments, as most of us know. Clearly, these situations are frustrating, but it's worse than that because sometimes these broken commitments result in a situation in which we as collectors fail to meet our collection targets. And even worse than that, some creditor companies ship against a commitment for payment rather than waiting for the payment to be received. And as a consequence, if the commitment is broken, they have a higher accounts receivable balance from the customer that has broken the commitment, resulting in additional worry and potentially additional risk of default or delinquency. So, if we can address broken commitments more effectively and more efficiently, we can accelerate the process of collecting past due balances. How to limit broken commitments. Here's a few ideas about how to do so. Number one, clearly describe to your customer what you expect and need in any discussion about the status of a past due balance. Ask them explicitly and specifically for a commitment for payment, not a best guess, not an assumption, but a specific commitment for payment. Keep careful records of those commitments for payment. Always take the time to confirm the commitments that you receive from your customers in writing in the form of an email immediately after the discussion or the agreement has been reached. And also make sure that you have developed a process, a program to follow up to ensure that customer payment commitments are being kept. Now, this process or program can be automated and it can be done manually, but the key is that one is in place. There is, in fact, a mechanism to track customer commitments to ensure that they are kept. When customers break commitments, when that happens, start the process by asking what happened to the previous commitment that the customer made, which apparently has been broken. Specifically, ask the customer why they did not notify you about their decision to break that payment commitment. Often at this point, the customer will argue, they'll play a semantics game where they'll say, well, we didn't decide to break the commitment to pay you, it just kind of happened. But that's semantics. What happened was there was a commitment, it was confirmed in writing at this point, and for whatever reason, the commitment was broken. I think it's really important to ask how a similar problem in the future can be prevented. The question I would ask is pretty close to that. It would be, how can we prevent similar problems in the future where we discuss and agree on a payment commitment and then after the fact and without notifying us, that commitment is not honored by you in the context of issuing a payment to clear the past due balance? What I'm suggesting is that it's not appropriate to discuss the customer's next payment promise or their new payment proposal before discussing the problem that's been created by the fact that they broke their previous payment commitment. Now, this entire process is not magic. It doesn't turn back time. It doesn't fix the fact that the customer made and broke their last commitment. But by pressing the customer for an explanation and for an agreement about not to do it in the future. The idea, the reason we do it is it makes broken commitments in the future less likely. Watch out for weasel words. What I often encounter is that customers use intentionally ambiguous language in response to our payment inquiries. And I've provided a few examples. Let me just list them and then we'll discuss them. The payment should be issued on Friday. Our check will be cut on Friday. Payment should be mailed on Friday. The check is on the controller's desk even as we speak. Your invoice has already been approved for payment and a check has already been cut. Now, to the untrained observer, those sound like payment commitments, but they're not. They include weasel words. Let's look at them one at a time. The payment should be issued on Friday is a weather forecast. It's not a commitment. It doesn't say it will be, or I guarantee, or this is definitely going to happen. There's a should. It should happen. Our check will be cut on Friday. The fact that a check is issued by the customer on a certain date tells us nothing about when it's going to be reviewed, nothing about when it's going to be approved, and nothing about when it's going to be mailed. Payment should be mailed on Friday is another forecast. It's not a commitment. It is an indication of what should happen, not necessarily what will happen. The check is on the controller's desk as we speak, is in no way a commitment for payment. It tells us absolutely nothing about when the check will be reviewed or signed or mailed. And it's important to remember they don't have to be simultaneous. A controller can review a check and not sign it. They can review and sign a check, but not mail it. So that doesn't tell us anything about when the check will be issued to us, by which I mean put in the mail, sent to our bank account, and deposited. That invoice has already been approved for payment. Approval for payment tells us nothing about when payment will be made. A check has already been cut. I know of many situations in my career in which a customer experiencing cash flow problems had checks cut and were sitting in a cabinet, in a safe, in someone's drawer, waiting for a time when they could actually mail those checks. So knowing that a check has been cut doesn't tell us very much at all about when we can expect payment. Discussing the impact and the implications. I think it's possible that customers honestly don't understand the impact of their broken commitments on the relationship between that company and your company. I think it's essential that we're honest about the impact that a broken commitment can have on the relationship and on the day-to-day activities between the customer and the creditor company. We've talked about one, a broken commitment can result in you failing to meet your collection goals. It can also result, from the customer's perspective, in something that's definitively problematic, the idea that the customer's credit limit might be either reduced or withdrawn. Clearly, another potential outcome in connection with a broken payment commitment is that the customer account is placed on credit hold until the payment is received. And another potential outcome is the idea that your company, based on this past problem of broken commitments, decides that you will no longer release orders based on a commitment for payment, but instead you will hold orders until the payment is actually received before releasing them. Share the impact continued. Another potential outcome is the idea that the payment terms are shortened. Let's say they're net 30 and you've decided, as a consequence of the customer's habit of making and then breaking payment commitments, that the new payment terms are going to be net 15 days. Another potential impact is that production for that customer for future orders is placed on production hold until such time as the account is current or the past due balance has been paid. In addition, one of the impacts is that the customer is considered to be and flagged as being high risk. And the last possibility here is that potentially your company will conclude, as a result of the fact that the customer is considered to be high risk, that you will require and demand certain types of collateral or security or credit enhancements from the customer that you would not otherwise have required, except for the fact that they make and then break payment commitments. Thanks a lot for your time and attention. I hope you found this program to be helpful or useful. To listen to the entire on-demand program on this topic, please contact my sponsor, the Wisconsin Credit Association, and please have yourself a great day. Take care. Bye.